The anti-seducer represents everything opposite to what attracts and captivates. Where seducers charm, entice, and bring pleasure, the anti-seducer repels with undesirable qualities and behaviors. Rather than drawing people in, they inadvertently push them away, whether through insecurity, negativity, or an inability to read social cues. Anti-seducers lack self-awareness and a sense of ease. They fail to understand how their actions, words, and attitudes affect those around them. This archetype fundamentally misunderstands the art of attraction, disregarding the subtlety, confidence, and grace that make interactions enjoyable. Each type of anti-seducer embodies a unique set of unattractive qualities, creating a barrier that stops potential connections in their tracks. The Brute. The Brute is characterized by a relentless drive to get their way, regardless of the discomfort or resistance of others. They operate with a single-minded force that often makes people feel trampled or disregarded. The Brute's approach to social interactions is transactional and self-centered. They see others as obstacles or tools rather than individuals with their own thoughts and feelings. This lack of subtlety and empathy drives them to use confrontation, intimidation, and aggression to achieve their goals, mistakenly thinking that power or volume can substitute for genuine connection. When the Brute pushes too hard, others feel cornered, coerced, or even threatened, which creates a defensive response rather than any form of attraction. By ignoring the delicate interplay of give and take in social dynamics, the Brute ends up repelling the very people they hope to influence, leaving others with a lasting sense of discomfort and resentment. The Suffocator. The Suffocator's behavior stems from a deep-seated fear of abandonment or insecurity, manifesting in behaviors that are controlling and overbearing. This anti-seducer constantly seeks reassurance and validation, often bombarding others with an endless stream of messages, calls, or check-ins, creating an atmosphere of pressure and neediness. Rather than allowing space for attraction to grow naturally, the Suffocator tries to force closeness and intimacy by occupying every moment of another person's time. Their behavior often signals a lack of self-sufficiency, which can feel like an emotional burden to others. Suffocators drain energy, making people feel that any interaction could lead to a torrent of clingy, guilt-inducing behaviors. The neediness of the Suffocator overwhelms people, leaving them craving distance and freedom rather than companionship. The Moralizer. The Moralizer carries an air of self-righteousness, convinced that their own set of values and principles is the only correct path. Rather than fostering an atmosphere of openness or curiosity, they impose their beliefs onto others, judging anyone who doesn't align with their views. They focus on fixing perceived flaws and helping others improve, but their rigid standards feel restrictive and alienating. Conversations with the Moralizer often become uncomfortable, as they tend to steer discussions toward topics where they can voice their disapproval, leaving others feeling criticized or belittled. Instead of connecting on a human level, the Moralizer reinforces a sense of hierarchy, making others feel inferior or ashamed. This judgmental stance not only stifles attraction, but also creates a tense, joyless environment that people naturally want to avoid. The Tightwad. The Tightwad hoards resources, whether it's money, time, or affection, believing that holding back somehow protects or elevates them. This miserliness extends beyond material wealth and into emotional exchanges. The Tightwad withholds compliments, expressions of warmth, and gestures of generosity. They may view giving as a weakness or something that leaves them vulnerable, failing to see that generosity fosters goodwill and connection. Their stinginess often leaves others feeling unappreciated, creating a stark imbalance in relationships. Rather than experiencing a sense of mutual respect or affection, people feel that the Tightwad takes without reciprocating, treating relationships as a one-sided transaction. This reluctance to give creates a sense of deprivation and emotional coldness, driving others away and leaving the Tightwad isolated in their own scarcity mindset. The Bumbler. Awkward and often painfully self-conscious, the bumbler struggles to navigate social situations gracefully. This anti-seducer frequently stumbles over words, makes clumsy remarks, and creates uncomfortable pauses that can make others feel tense or embarrassed. The bumbler is overly focused on their own insecurities, which colors their interactions with an air of uncertainty and unease. Often, they overthink their actions and words to the point of stilted conversation, making people feel like they're engaging in a forced or uncomfortable exchange. The bumbler's lack of self-assurance makes others feel on edge, sensing that the interaction could go wrong at any moment. Instead of allowing for natural flow and relaxation, the bumbler's nervousness introduces an awkwardness that makes social engagement feel more like a chore than a pleasure. The windbag. The windbag dominates conversations with a relentless monologue that centers solely on themselves. Oblivious to the needs or interests of others, they drone on about their own opinions, achievements, and concerns, leaving no space for a balanced exchange. Instead of showing interest in others or creating a back-and-forth dialogue, the windbag essentially turns every interaction into a one-person show. This self-centered approach leaves others feeling sidelined and unimportant, as though they're mere spectators in a conversation. The windbag's inability to listen and acknowledge others' perspectives prevents any real connection from forming, as people feel unseen and undervalued. By monopolizing the conversation, the windbag creates a wall that separates them from others, diminishing any chance of building rapport or attraction. The reactor. The reactor is emotionally volatile, responding to minor slights or perceived offenses with disproportionate reactions. They are overly sensitive to criticism or disappointment, often spiraling into dramatic displays that make others feel uncomfortable or burdened. This hypersensitivity forces people to tread lightly around them, knowing that the smallest misstep could trigger an outsized reaction. Instead of fostering an atmosphere of calm and confidence, the reactor's unpredictability creates tension, as people worry about unintentionally provoking an outburst. Their inability to manage their own emotions results in a draining and turbulent environment that repels others. Far from being attractive, the reactor's instability pushes people away, as they become associated with emotional labor rather than enjoyable companionship. The Vulgarian. The Vulgarian displays an alarming lack of social tact, crossing boundaries with inappropriate remarks, gestures, or actions. This anti-seducer shows little regard for social norms, often making crude jokes or acting in a way that draws negative attention. Vulgarians lack self-awareness and disregard the discomfort their behavior causes, mistakenly believing that their crassness is charming or rebellious. Instead, they create a sense of unease or embarrassment, making others feel uncomfortable or even ashamed by association. The Vulgarian's lack of finesse and disregard for decorum prevents others from feeling relaxed and respected. Rather than being seen as authentic or bold, the Vulgarian's behavior comes across as boorish and off-putting, closing off any potential for genuine connection. Each type of anti-seducer fails to recognize the subtle dynamics of attraction, missing the essential qualities of empathy, generosity, and self-awareness that make interactions pleasurable. While a seducer seeks to create an inviting atmosphere that draws others in, the anti-seducer creates discomfort, tension, or outright aversion. Whether through aggression, neediness, judgment, or self-absorption, each anti-seducer embodies qualities that make people feel trapped, undervalued, or simply annoyed. Their lack of self-awareness leads to behaviors that are both off-putting and emotionally draining, reinforcing a sense of separation rather than connection. In the end, anti-seducers are often left isolated, wondering why others don't respond positively to them, unaware that their own behavior is the root of their loneliness and rejection. True seduction is about bringing pleasure and ease, while the anti-seducer creates an atmosphere of tension and discomfort, pushing others away rather than drawing them close.